Hey, what up, everybody? This is Stevie Breach coming to you. This happened to me earlier in the week, where basically, before I got off work, I checked my Twitter account, saw what everybody was talking about, wanted to see what the big buzz of the day was, and I saw a story: plans for Roman Reigns to surpass CM Punk as longest reigning WWE Champion. This was posted on the Ringside News Twitter feed. It's one of my favorite accounts to follow on Twitter to get wrestling news. This video isn't bashing them. I really do appreciate them. I will say that honestly, to get people to go to your site, one of the best things that I like that goes along with it is they always post a picture to go along with every story, so their tweet stands out above everybody else's. So that's the one thing I've always liked about them. But I noticed that they were retweeting a lot of people with their first responses to this story. And honestly, the whole way home, I was driving. I was trying to think about the video that I was going to make to cover this topic, because I thought this was a pretty big topic. And I was listening to Wrestling Observer Live, and Brian Alvarez and Mike Sempervini. It's one of my favorite things to listen to on the way home. I think the show is an hour with commercials, but because I listened to it on the Wrestling Observer website off of my phone as I'm driving home, the show is only about 40 to 45 minutes, something like that, whatever the commercials would have been that are edited out, and it makes my drive home a lot easier. I think it's better to get some wrestling talk, and it sort of eases me, getting the stress of work off of me, and it sort of gives me my topic of the day that I'm going to talk about when I get home. But right when I was about to cross over Watt Avenue and get onto the freeway, I heard Brian Alvarez make his prediction. That is what the basis of this story is about. People were getting all worked up in a frenzy because of the headline. Roman Reigns has surpassed CM Punk as longest reigning champion. People were coming out of the woodwork saying that Roman Reigns doesn't deserve to be champion. Roman Reigns is still too green to be champion. Roman Reigns isn't going to be a good champion. He's not a number one guy. This, that, and the other. How could, WWE be so petty to push somebody just to surpass CM Punk and erase him from the record books? Honestly, when it comes down to it, this is a guy that's on the radio. He's trying to fill an hour. He's trying to have a wrestling talk show. Let's base it. I mean, go look at, what the big stories of the day are. I mean, the guy was honestly probably just trying to stretch a little bit to fill his hour-long show. And, he made a prediction, and people got all worked up out of it. Let's just, think about this story, and let's just break it down. If Roman Reigns deserves to be champion, yes, easily, you can look at this and see that Roman Reigns deserves to be champion. He is a guy that won the Royal Rumble. He went on to WrestleMania, and everybody thought that he had the golden ticket. He was going to beat Brock Lesnar. WWE's contract with Brock was expiring right after WrestleMania. People thought that Brock was going to go to UFC. So easily, nobody was thinking about Seth Rollins cashing in the Money in the Bank, even though Seth Rollins was one of the biggest rivals, you could say, of Brock Lesnar. He was that thorn in his side. He tried to cash in at Night of Champions, which started a feud between the two. He was in the three-way dance, the Royal Rumble, but somehow when it came down to WrestleMania, people thought that it was just a guarantee that Roman was going to do this. And, the word is that Roman Reigns found out during Hall of Fame that he wasn't going to be winning the championship. Seth Rollins didn't find out until, I think they said The Rock was in the ring. I keep, hoping, that they more than likely filmed at least him walking into the room. There's so many cameras backstage at WrestleMania capturing things, especially with the WWE Network. I'm surprised they didn't show it in that Roman Reigns episode of WWE 24/7 or whatever they call that show, where they were following Roman Reigns around WrestleMania 31 weekend. Honestly, that was one of the things that I think really started to get Roman Reigns over. People were happy that Roman didn't become champion. He wasn't the chosen guy. People were pumped that they got to see a cash-in with Seth Rollins. I think people are still surprised that Seth Rollins is still champion within WWE. But one thing leads to another. Seth Rollins takes the championship. He goes into a feud with Randy Orton, who beat him early in the night at WrestleMania 31. From there, he goes into a feud with Dean Ambrose. I think after Ambrose, he fought Brock at Battleground, and that led him to John Cena's feud, which is going on right now as long as Sting. Roman Reigns, he went and he had a match against the Big Show, sort of going back in time, bringing a feud that was before WrestleMania, giving them a last man standing match. It was a fucking awesome match, and it really got Roman over. And then from there, of course, he goes into the Money in the Bank to try and become like the #1 contender with a briefcase, and Bray Wyatt tipped that ladder over, and I swear to God, since that moment, Roman really has lost a lot of steam. It was this Monday on Monday Night Raw when he was out there delivering the promo that I think that was one of the best promos that Roman's ever done, and I think that's the way his character should be. Basically, we got 3 guys, we're showing up at the pay-per-view, and we're going to kick your ass. That's basically what it was when he was in the member of the Shield. It was Ambrose doing a lot of the talking. Rollins would talk a little bit, and basically they would just talk. They would just throw it to Roman to end out the promo, and he would put the fist up and say "Believe in the Shield" or "Beat that," or very short, very sweet. He didn't talk a lot, but he got in the ring. He had that Superman punch. He did the big roar, and he was the standout star of the Shield. Very, very fun stuff. But when it comes down to it now, I'm ready for the Roman Reigns era. I want to see what it's going to be like. They could throw it to him and he could fall right on his face. He could be a Jack Swagger. He could be that's the last champion I can think of off the top of my head that sort of got that belt and just sort of, had a run. They didn't get out of it what they thought they were going to get out of it, and they've just never really gone back to it again. I love the guy. Swagger's one of my favorite wrestlers, but I can't think of anybody that I think WWE has turned on so fast after becoming champion. You could, see, as he came up through FCW, and then he, emerged on the WWE television. He's probably been in WWE for about 3 years now. You think the guy's still green now? I don't know. I think he's wrestling and having some of the greatest matches of his career. Each time he comes out, I think his promos are getting better and better. I think worst case scenario is you just throw the belt on Roman just to see what's going to happen. Somebody has to beat Rollins. Odds are that Rollins isn't going to make it to WrestleMania and still be champion. If he does, you might as well just keep it on Rollins just to have him break the record if it's that desperate to see it. But Roman's going to be the champion. I mean, that's just what it comes down to. And honestly, in my mind, I'd love to see them build the storyline to actually make him a believable champion that doesn't involve the Royal Rumble and winning the title at WrestleMania. I think that you could have a big moment out of a second-rate pay-per-view and basically make it the star-studded, this is Roman Reigns. I know that it's not winning it on the big stage, but you can win a title at Survivor Series. You can win a title at Hell in the Cell, TLC, and it means something. I mean, who doesn't remember Mark Henry winning his first World Heavyweight Championship? It was a big, memorable moment. I think everybody marked out because it was something that we had never seen before. But I am ready for Roman Reigns' era to start in WWE. If he wins the championship for the first time, do I think he's going to hold it for 400 plus days? No. But I think he's going to have a better first run than a lot of guys when they first get the title. Think of CM Punk's first World Heavyweight Championship reign back when he cashed in the Money in the Bank and he won it by beating Edge on Monday Night Raw, and then he just sort of was like this mid-card dude. Anybody who wins the championship for the first time, Rollins got a little bit better of a push, but a lot of the guys, they win that belt for the first time, and they don't really get the first-rate guys in order to have matches with to try and get over. They have to battle sort of like they're in the mid-card, even though they're the champion. They might not even be in the main event of the show, but they got to try and find it to get there. And at the end of the day, WWE is looking at it like, well, they care about Cena a lot, so they're not really caring about this guy. And they just move on. I think that Roman's going to be one hell of a champion. I think that he needs to win the belt sooner than later and get this thing going. See if this guy can be the next John Cena like you're going to think he is. But, there's a lot of guys laying in the weeds. Dean Ambrose is more than likely probably going to be champion someday before it's done. Seth Rollins is going to have a few run at it. You've got guys down there in developmental. Tyler Breeze might be, a world champion for this company. I think that definitely Finn Balor will. If they're smart, they fucking put Samoa Joe on the roster and let him have a run at it and see what goes on from there. And just sort of, even if it's just to show TNA, this is the guy that you had for years and you never made him as big as we made him. That would work. And I'm sure that there's other guys. I think as time goes on, size is always going to matter in WWE, but I think there's going to be times when they let their guards down. They saw a guy like Daniel Bryan. He's not the biggest, tallest dude in the world, but he was able to get over like a motherfucker and push some t-shirts, get everybody chanting and everybody all fired up to really care about a wrestler that they have in their company. A guy like Neville can get a chance to become champ. So, there's a lot of stiff competition. There's only one belt to go around these days. I liked it better. The World Heavyweight Championship never was the belt, and I understand, well, there was a time, but I mean, in the last, few years, it has never been the belt ever since basically it became SmackDown's championship, and, they were probably pretty smart to merge it at the same time. It makes guys like Sheamus, and an emerging star, maybe, Stardust, a Cody Rhodes, somebody that really could, win this championship and have a little run with it, even if it's just basically on SmackDown and that's it. I think that you could be making stars that way as well. By having this as the secondary title, but it's still a world title. So it still means something. But Roman's gonna be champ sooner than later. Let's just get it over with.